How has travel changed for you?
We've done some fun things this year. This was during pandemic, but we still were able to do it all.
He said after he reached the top.
I could go for a month, no problem.
Yeah. How long can you go away? I've noticed as I've seen some of your social media posts and things that you seem to be enjoying the time with your family, getting out, doing things a lot more than I ever saw you before. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure a lot of that is born from this level of success. But also, how comfortable are you leaving, and for how long can your company continue without you on a day-to-day basis?
Well, I kind of just did an experiment with that. I called it retirement. I still put in 5 to 10 hours a week on average. Some weeks were literally no more than 5 hours, just checking in with the team. And I did that for a little over 3 months. Oh. And while there were some things that slipped through the cracks, and there's probably 1 or 2 clients that those things that fell through the cracks were significant enough that they got upset, which is very sad. But at the same time, a lot of other things were handled really, really well. And so, I learned from that. I'm really glad I kind of took the step back that I did, because I needed that.
But you could go for a month now?
I could go for a month, no problem.
Yeah. Do you talked earlier about having that level of customer service where you have regular touch points with them individually as clients. That is something you can do from virtually anywhere, or are you talking about pressing the flesh, like being with them face to face, or is it just a phone call? Is it just an email? Is it a Zoom?
It's actually recorded video is all that's needed. So if my team says, "Hey, look what just happened on Nicolene's channel," maybe you could show that to her. And so then I'll make a video, I'll show my face, I'll say, "Hey, look what I found," show her the screen, send her that video. So I can just record a whole bunch of those back to back. So I can be super efficient with it.
And do you still do that for each one individually? Or I know there are some folks out there that do things like that, but they'll make it more generic.
It'll be personalized.
Of the amount
it is efficient to be personalized. Or we communicate through WhatsApp, and just sending an audio message to a particular client on that chat group about their channel, just having those touch points is really good. But that's where we haven't had a system in place, and that's the system I'm creating now, so that I can leverage the help of my team to help make sure that nothing falls through the cracks, and that even though I'm more efficient at it, I'm taking better care of my clients.
Yeah, makes sense. So we're dabbling around travel for a minute. I want to just kind of detour there for a second. How has travel changed for you?
We've done some fun things this year. Admittedly, that's where the finances have helped. We did an epic trip in June. In 1 week, we went to Washington, D.C. We toured a couple museums, toured a lot of the monuments, got a bus tour, flew to New York City, we went on the sites from the Statue of Liberty to the Empire State Building. This was during pandemic, but we still were able to do it all. We rode on the subway. We did a lot of stuff there. Then we went up to Rochester and Palmyra, New York, saw some church history sites there. Wonderful experience. And flew down to Cedar Rapids to drive down to Nauvoo, Illinois. Oh, yeah. More church history sites. Amazing experiences with the family. Awesome memories created. And, granted, the multi-stop filming or flying and stuff was pricey. We would have never done that before, but that was pretty cool. It took a full day of me planning it out and working out the tickets and coordinating times, and that was pretty cool.
It's nice to be able to have the liberty to be able to do that and take all of your family. Mm-hmm. At a certain point, maybe it's just you, or it's just you and your spouse, or maybe it's so-and-so's birthday. You get to come with daddy on a trip. But where you literally can just kind of look at the bank account and go, you know what, we can all afford to go do cool things.
See, here's in the past, I've had business trips to DC. Mm-hmm. And so, I've gone and I've seen some of those sites. And I've been to New York City. I've been to Nauvoo, but I hadn't been to Palmyra. And so the places that I had been, I talked to my family about, this is so cool. We should go there sometime. And then even my daughter, was planning on going with her whole graduating class of the 8th grade from Challenger School, was going to go to DC and to like Gettysburg and all these things. Well, the pandemic shut that down and the trip was canceled.
Oh.
And so, we just thought, you know what? What's stopping us from just doing an epic trip and going to all these places that we wanted to? And we might do another one this next year with other places. Like Niagara Falls, just Mount Rushmore, places that we, other church history sites. So,
there's people talk about bucket lists and things, that they'd like to do before they're. Are there things like that that have motivated you or driven you, or that you've thought of or pined for over your career and your life, that now you find yourself in a position that you can do? Or are you kind of still just status quo? I'm the same old Nate I ever was, and if we get around to it,
Yeah, some of them I just mentioned, places to go. I still have some places like that I like to visit. My whole life I've always wanted to go to Australia. So I'm sure I'll go to Australia one of these times. But the other part of it, maybe it's because I've crossed this threshold in age where I'm 43 now. I used to think that, I'm going to get into this sport and then get into that and get into that and get into that. And now it's like I'm kind of pulling back. Like I've got my running and hiking. I've got my mountain biking. I like a couple of years ago, a friend introduced me to backcountry skiing. Where you have
avalanches burying you. Yes.
So he took me to this place above Alta Ski Resort, and we had a great day. I'd never skied powder before, by the way, and I learned that day. But you go up the mountain with your skis on, but with skins over it, so you have traction on the snow, and you hike up. It's kind of like you're in snowshoes, but with a big long ski. Then when you get to the top of, we were right by the peak, all this powder in front of us, we'd take off the skins, put it in our bag, lock in our boots so that they don't hinge there, and then you ski down in the powder. So it was cool to get into a new sport. And then, a neighbor of mine was telling me about he's into motocross, and I'm like, well, I could afford that, and maybe doing more downhill skiing. I haven't really done a whole lot of it, but now that I could afford it, maybe I should take on that sport, and should I get a boat? And the more I thought about it, like, I don't need more. What's wrong with what I've got? And here's an example with the backcountry skiing. You do have to worry about the avalanches and do it. Yeah. My friend spends a lot of time on the apps studying snow conditions and whatnot. I'm like, I don't really want to become an expert at avalanches and snow conditions. And it takes time to repair, and it's an all-day thing. Like if I just want to get out, snowshoeing is another thing that I enjoy. So I figured, you know what?
Great cardio.
Yeah, snowshoeing, it's just like hiking, right? And so anyway, I recognized this year that some of the exciting things, like, one day I'll do this and I'll go skydiving, and I'll get back into, I've done scuba diving before, maybe I'll do that again. It's like, I don't really feel the need to do that anymore. It's kind of like I've just let that go and I'm fine, because I'm like really happy with what I've got.
Yeah, no, that's good. Well, and I think too, the ability to stay grounded, when you reach a certain level of success or you've accomplished certain goals that you've set out to attain, to me, it always feels like when you get there, there's still always more. It doesn't ever end, particularly at the tender age of 43, which is significantly younger than myself, and I'm grateful for that. But I mean, I remember reading about Sir Edmund Hillary and Mount Everest, and his Sherpa guide Tenzing Norgay, who literally grew up in the shadows of Mount Everest, the tallest mountain in the world, and he called it his mountain. And in fact, he'd made more attempts to the top of that than any other man previous. Hillary comes along, this New Zealander, whatever, I'll try it, And there's Tenzing Norgay with him. So when they finally summit to the top, and Tenzing, at least according to the photograph, looks like the first one to actually get there, and hopefully Hillary let him, because it really was his climb. He said after he reached the top, there is no more up. Like literally at the age of 39 was what he was. He had peaked. He'd gotten to the very top of the highest place you could possibly be on Earth, except for air travel. And I thought, how sad it is that, he finally got there, but he's only 39. He's still got 40, 50 years left of life. He's got to keep going. What about you has changed that anyone might be able to notice? I mean, right now, parked out in the garage, you've got this beautiful blue.
And like I'm feeling emotion because I had to give myself permission to do that.
Yeah.
And because
Yeah, that's the price you pay. But the reward, the flip side of that,